of it all, and I just look forward to being an encouraging voice and encourage people to go about this a godly way.
Okay.
And of course, even if you don't believe in God, we all believe in there's a peaceful way.
Okay, yeah, and that was the other thing. Bill just turned on the recording, so basically it's your testimony. If you could just confirm it again that you've never heard any calls to violence on any of our Alaska General Assembly calls.
Yes, I will confirm that. I've never heard any voice of violence or anything of the sort on this call.
All right. Very good. And please feel free to
we'll be letting you guys go for the night, though.
What's that?
Though my phone, I will be getting off for the night, though I will have the phone on record, so you'll see my number up here.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, and good to hear you. And
I'm sorry, one more thing.
Yeah.
Do I have to record these, or do you guys upload the recording somewhere?
We record them, and then only the previous one is available. Not all of them are available, so it's probably better if you want the recordings to go ahead and continue recording them.
Okay. Hey, sounds good. Well, I hope you guys have a great conversation tonight, and hopefully it's very productive.
All right. Great to hear you, David. Thanks much. And
right,
I invite...
That's a good one.
Yeah. Good night. Okay, and so, yeah, please follow David's lead and let us know that you're here and what you're thinking about tonight. And especially we're really focused on the Anna von Reitz article that tries to discredit our Alaska General Assembly. Now this, to be very, very clear, this is not an Alaska General Assembly meeting right now. This is the Free the People radio show. But the topic at hand is just our General Assembly and the topic of Anna's article trying to discredit us from last week. So please feel free to chime in on that. And in fact, Wilford, if nobody does come up with something, if you would mind reading what I sent back to you last night, I'd appreciate that too.
You're directing that to me, Maria? Wilfred?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, why don't I start with what I wrote to you somewhat?
Okay, perfect.
Most of it. Last week I got on the call 45 minutes late, but in any event, I wrote, I wanted you to know I am not recruitable to anyone's cause, held off on all Anna's recommendations of such as I have been there and done that type of sort of thing in the past to no avail. Since 1995 or so, when the Jural words started to come to light, I have been here, period. I have been here since Anna made her debut at an early stage with the Russo group. I like Anna, but again, I am not recruitable. Your words and other on tonight's call were very good. I liked your view on the history of the written word. I also have my views, and I concur with the fact that there are underlying words besides the Holy Writ, and such as Brent Winter's writings. Perhaps we could talk sometime. And then I had a little PS, and I'll go skip that and go on. And then you responded, Maria, to this. Thank you for your note. I am truly beginning to think that your policy of not being recruitable is quite a good policy. It reminds me of my policy of stop getting involved in any business that requires that I order business cards like multi-level services, etc. As long as I've stayed away from this sort of thing, I keep busy and unfrustrated. We got stuck into joining the Michigan General, or is that General Jural Assembly? I think so.
Yes.
MGJA calls, and getting the Alaska Assembly at the behest of Anna, and now she has published these many false statements about the Alaska General Assembly, simply because we stood up to her and refused to disassociate from Destry Payne. If not for Anna von Reitz, we would have never even heard of Destry and would certainly not started attending the Michigan calls. Nothing in her essay is based on fact, and she could have no evidence or even proof to support her complaints about the AGA, Alaska General Assembly. It's all just slanderous, libelous tripe, which calls into question her discernment on everything else she claims to have researched and published within her essays on her website. I used to read and respect Anna von as a fellow Alaskan, but over the past few months, beginning when she derided my husband and I as Bible enthusiasts, and more recently when she had Terry Sam order us to end our private association with Destry. And now this most recent essay making wholly false and very serious accusations against some of our members and against all of us as a group. My respect is completely gone, and I am no longer confused as to where her loyalties lie. Anna von Reitz is one-woman wrecking ball. She has divided and conquered and divided and conquered, all in the name of unifying an effort to reestablish our state assemblies. Every time any of the related groups starts gaining ground and making progress, she finds a reason to publicly denounce and wipe out that particular group. For example, she sent people to the Michigan General Assembly meetings for a full year without letting the process being put forth on her website, on their website, and just as that effort began to gain steam and join with other groups headed to the same or similar direction, she denounced Michigan General Assembly and ordered people to disassociate. Something similar happened when Jocelyn created Paper Up Now, which was getting 500 hits per day, and ended when Jocelyn quit the entire effort. All of a sudden, she regularly uses her bully pulpit to denounce people whom she may actually be able to educate and work with. Anyway, I've gone on too long, and I'll see you tomorrow night, etc. Bye. Okay, that was the end of that, Maria.
All right, thank you. Yep, that's those are a few thoughts. I have a few more, but I'll hold off until a little bit later. And I want to just go ahead and invite everybody to chime in and give their comments.
Well, I would say this. This is Wilfred again. Back in about, in the early mid-'90s, the Jural word got spread around, and starting in California, and of course they started up as as the American Jural Society News, and it was put out by several publishers together, and eventually it was put together by the California Jural Society Press. Okay, and then they were making some progress. They established what was called a non-statutory abatement process. They had good results. I stopped the IRS from a house foreclosure and right on down the line. But then they started learning more, and years went by, and they started getting into topics, doing more research. People were making contributions, and then they didn't really like the direction it was going, and so they changed things because there was a whole lot of people getting involved in those jural societies, and we realized by now we didn't want to be part of a society or community because they're words of the world, and we started putting together a whole list, lots of words that were words of his kingdom and words of the world. And it got very, very interesting, the research that had taken place. And basically what we did is that we went ahead and to verify any particular words, we've seen how they were used in the early dictionaries, such as Bovier's, and eventually down through Black's and Melankoff's and many other dictionaries. And then we went and researched how they were used in court cases, not only in America, but other countries as well. And then we've seen how it was used, or if it was even used, in scriptures. And so we had many ways that we would, put those words together to, be an absolute assurance what that word meant. And, of course, it's written, we talked about truth here. The word came out a little earlier tonight. The word, the word truth, his word is truth. And if we can get the absolutes of his word, I mean, my goodness, I think we got to hang on to that and use those words in the direction that we would go. And so eventually, the name was changed, whether it was the California Jural Society or the American Jural Society. It was changed to the Christian Jural Society News. And again, that didn't sit well, but only for a short period of time. And then we put together what was called, the Christ Lawful Assembly. Matters concerning Christ Lawful Assembly. In other words, you look going back into the Old Testament, and of course the Scriptures are the only thing upon the face of the earth that have a chain of custody from start to finish, and it's the only book that exists upon the earth that has a chain of custody of what has been written. And so we use those words from the Scriptures and to go forward. So his matter, or matters concerning his lawful assembly, being the ecclesia or the church, and there is where we ended up. And of course, that filtered out all of the people that just wanted to bring their ideas and their ideals, religious beliefs, and create their particular view of their own particular jural society. But once we got into the studying of all the words, and said, well, these are the words that we're going to use, and this is how we're going to go forward, eventually all of those got in such of derision that most of them all fell by the wayside. And if I could be wrong, but I believe that the Michigan Jural started up at that time as well, and they were one of the few that kept going in their own way. But there were jurals that had set up in a great number of states, lots of them. And so, but eventually they couldn't put it together and, individually and keep it going. And I was part of one, but again, I didn't, get the thing rolling with it, but I participated in all. But I got out of it because they would not use the particulars that we wanted the Christ lawful matters to go. And so we, anyhow, I did not participate because, as I mentioned, I'm not recruitable, and I've got my foundations that I build off of, and of course we did a lot of research, and a lot of the topics surface now, and yes, through Anna and others that we researched back in the early mid '90s, and of course we had this particular newsletter. That went out for 6 years, and finally, things got, we didn't sell anything, and it was based on contributions, and finally people would order books and lots of books, and we had a lot of books, and they wouldn't make a fair contribution to the expense, and eventually there was no money to keep it going. However, we've got every one of those, those reports all on cassettes as well, and so the information is available. And so when someone such as Anna or others, not only her, come up with a particular, idea about or an opinion of something, and I've learned a lot from Anna. Don't get me wrong. I have a place to go to verify, what we absolutely put together, many years ago, things about the so-called Civil War and the Lieber Code, right on down the line. And so we've explored, just hundreds of avenues of things. And, we kept learning and building. And we dropped a lot of things as time went by because eventually we replaced it with something, greater and better. So when I proceed, I guess, with my life, they've got to be absolutes and they got to be verifiable, and they've got to have the right wording within it. Other than that, why should I be involved? And, that's my understanding. It doesn't necessarily have to be called, the matters concerning his lawful assembly, but that weeds out those who have other ideas and ideals of religion that want to usurp that upon the believers of the Christ. And, it's written, in the Old Testament that the government would be upon his shoulders to order it and establish it with judgment and justice from henceforth, and it goes on. And there's why I believe that I want to work in that direction, and that everything is put forth for his honor and his glory forever and ever, that his kingdom will be a kingdom without end forever and ever. And there's where I stand. I yield.
Okay, thank you. Wilfred, I had a couple of questions now. You said that you were involved in a group that Anna was in. Was that RUSA?
Yeah, RUSA. And, of course, eventually it was the Alaska state something. I don't remember. And, of course, I was, governor at the time for that. But I resigned. And Anna resigned as well, and it just wasn't going to go anywhere, and we knew it, and we thought there was going to be some hope there. But I was part of that. I don't think it was 2 years, and things with Tim Turner and other things, and I went to visit Tim Turner, and I did not have good vibrations with him, and others within the group, and. So when I got back here, I just prayed about it, and I said, no, no, I'm not going that way. It's not gonna go anywhere, and it hasn't.
Okay, and was there another group that was the assemblies? I'm sorry, the Christian Jural Assembly or Matters Concerning His Lawful Assembly? Were those separate groups from RUSA?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we're talking 20 years apart there. Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, that what I was talking about. His matters, his lawful assembly, or matters concerning his lawful assembly. That publication and those efforts kind of dwindle out because of lack of funds and the lack of people willing to educate others and to go forth with the absolute words of the truth. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be, as this particular group had put it forth, but it had to be with absolutes and truth, and it had to be verifiable, with the law dictionaries, verifiable with Supreme Court decisions, you might say, and verifiable with the scriptures through the Septuagint of the Old Testament from the Greek, and of course also the Greek of the New Testament. And if that, and I understand about the Hebrew, and but if it wasn't verifiable those four ways, and just by speculation and opinion or somebody's writings, well, I've never really locked onto it because there was no absolute established with it.
Can I just ask you your opinion when you heard that the ANA was really writing people to go ahead and get their jural assemblies established in their states? What was your instinct and your opinion about it?
Well, in the beginning, I thought, wow, this might be something, very true. But as things went on, that was, I think she had been writing that way back on her issues way back in the numbers of 700 or 800, and eventually put it all together by 926, I think she says, and so that's a thousand of her articles passed, and I did not jump on the bandwagon, so to speak, because I didn't understand it thoroughly, and I didn't have a chance to fully research it for me. And I just got busy and all kinds of things happening, and so I have never done anything with it, and because we had done things with the Christ's lawful assembly, and we were successful with foreclosures, with almost everything. However, most people, they rejoined up. For example, there was a particular gentleman from northern Minnesota that abated taxes that he had on some land where he had a trailer house that he had put license plates on so he wouldn't have to pay taxes. But he abated all of that stuff. And things went fine for 10 years. Well, then he sold it back into commerce, and they back-billed him because he recreated the joinder of that. If he would have just left it alone and continued on, I believe he would have been perfectly fine, such as I myself, they threatened to sell my house, and in fact they did sell it, and I abated it, and and I, abated the so-called purchaser, and of course you have 6 months to redemption, and of course I never redeemed it, and meanwhile that's the time that I started coming to Alaska, and one day my daughter, who was living there, called me up that there was a letter on the front porch, on a little bench that I had built onto that porch. And I said, sweetheart, don't touch it. Just leave it right there. Don't do anything. And it sat there for 2 months. Yeah. And it kind of rained on it, and it stuck tight and everything. And then it was published in the statewide papers again that they were going to, now, first of all, it was sold on a sealed bid. Then they were going to sell it on the front steps of the courthouse. And my sister, just being concerned, went there and asked about the sale that was going to take place that Saturday morning, and it was going to be like at 10 o'clock. And she got there at about 9:30 or so, and it was inquiring about it. And they said, well, that's been, she had talked to a particular gentleman, and that was trying to force this, and he had to admit, the sale is not to go on. But we got new legislation coming down that we're going to sell it here in 6 more months. I did nothing, and they did not sell it. And then again, I was back there on some other matters, and I was in the courthouse, and here comes this agent, particular IRS agent. He walked up to me, and he said, well, we've dropped these liens. This is not a bill. This is not nothing. And it was in an envelope, and he wanted to, give it to me. I looked at him. I did a military about face, and in my turn away from him, I said, I create no lawful joinder with you. And I walked away. And now that's been 20 years ago. I haven't heard from them since. And they never sold the place. So we cannot go back and rejoin up once you got a victory in this process of the non-statutory abatement. And, of course, that non-statutory abatement, at first it was, it had some words of the world, and those all got taken out, and we just put in the words of the kingdom straight through. And I, for one, can say it absolutely worked because we're not part of that government, of that corporation. And, we did the process, served it, and then give them the days, and then the notice of default judgment, and that was over with. And we, of course, they wouldn't eventually take them in the newspapers anymore for the publications. So we just posted it, throughout the county. Just went about a dozen places.
We're gonna move ahead with this conversation about what happened. But it's really pertinent what you're talking about with the Christian Jural Assembly as far as that essay that she wrote about us last week, because she's saying that we're looking to have a theocracy. She's making an accusation that the Alaska Jural Assembly wants to have a theocracy because we're saying that common law has evolved from Christianity.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm for myself, it's, what is the word? A theocracy, all the theory of God. But the absolutes of the Scripture are undeniable, and it's no longer a theory, it's fact.
That's right. That's right. And so what she's saying is, please, everybody disassociate from this Alaska Jural Assembly. And I don't know which one she means, because the one I'm involved with and the one I've been a coordinator of, there doesn't fit the description that she gave in her essay. So we want to make that clear tonight. We want to give everybody a chance to respond to what she wrote in that article. And I would like to do this. People are doing it in writing, but I'd really like to do it in voice tonight on this show. So if you have been writing letters or essays or notices of liabilities to her, I'd at least like to have a short description of what you're writing about and your answer to her in voice on this show. So please, we'll go ahead and move on a little bit, Wilford, and then we'll come back to you as you.
Yeah, no problem,
have
Maria.
Continuing thoughts. Okay. All right. Is Glenn here? I'm interested to hear from Glenn, from Destry, from Chris.
John here.
Yeah, this is Glenn.
Okay, you've been writing, and
I've got notes here. I'm not writing. Go ahead.
I was just saying, please go ahead.
All right. I'm not writing a letter to Anna Von Reitz. I'm putting something together for James Belcher for the garbage that's coming out of his house.
Oh.
This thing about responding to Anna is not working. And since we're talking about, Bible law and scripture and whatnot, we don't go to a man's wife if we have a problem with her. We go to the man, the husband.
That's right.
Does that make sense to anybody?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
So this isn't a letter I'm writing. It's a cease and desist order. Let me look at my notes here. Anyway, it's a notice and demand and a cease and desist order and a whole bunch of things here. But I don't have any reason to write to Anna. She's not interested in listening to anything anybody has to say. And the whole attack on the Fairbanks group doesn't make sense to me. I can only think of one of us that's even in the Fairbanks area, and that's Chris. And I don't know of anybody else in the Fairbanks area. The Alaska Jural Assembly was started over 100 miles away from Fairbanks, and nobody in our group has had anything to do with Schaefer Cox other than trying to help him out of his problem after the problem started. So that's where I am with that, but I need some answers to some questions so I get this all right.
Okay.
I would like to say something.
Go ahead.
John. Pardon me. In this day and age, I do not think that you hold a man responsible for what his wife does. A man is a man and a woman is a woman, and there's no reason to say, well, the woman doesn't matter. She can say or do whatever.
Excuse me, I didn't say that.
Huh?
Yeah, I didn't say that. But go ahead.
Well, you're claiming that you're calling her husband to be responsible for what she says and does. Or
exactly.
Huh?
You hit it right on the head. Bingo.
That's absurd. She's
Well, what day and age are we living in again?
She's an adult. She's responsible for herself.
Well, husbands and wives were adults way back when that rule was made. And you can read it in the Old Testament, but anyway.
I'm not sure you're going to get very far with that, but
yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see. I don't know if we'll get very far, but what we're doing now isn't working, so got to try something.
Well, what's wrong with suggesting that, if I don't know whether anyone has suggested it, I have to some extent, that if she's criticizing Destry for whatever he's doing, she accuses him of dual citizenship between here and Luxembourg, and who knows? I don't see. I think there's an implication that there's some subterfuge involved there, but she's an adult woman. Seems quite able to communicate what she wants to the world. Well, what the hell's wrong with her coming on to our call and answering questions? That's the way I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. The country of Sweden is controlled by women at this time, and watch it spiral down into a third world status. We're watching it right now.
I didn't follow what you just said. Something about a third world battle. What are you referring to?
I was just referring to other countries that have let that thinking take hold, and we're seeing the results of it.
What thinking?
I'm not saying that will happen in this country, but it already has happened. So, I don't need to say it.
Well, I haven't heard any response to my suggestion of inviting her, if that's what it takes. I don't know how anyone could be offended by placing an invitation to her to come to speak before the group and answer whatever questions we have. And if she has accusations against Destry, let her state them. Let Destry respond, and vice versa.
I agree, and she's already been asked to do that, and she's not going to.
When was she asked?
All right. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt just a minute, John. If you can follow the form for tonight, we were getting Glenn's take on what needs to happen, and then we're not. If we just let him get out what he feels like he wants to talk about, and then you'll get a chance to
go ahead.
Rather than challenge him, you'll get a chance to tell us what needs to happen. Okay?
No problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, John. And that's about all I have for now. I need some answers to some questions, and a couple of simple questions so I don't misstate something here. I don't want to take up the time right now, but my number one quick question right now is, how many are actually in Fairbanks or the Fairbanks area? And I can only number one right now.
Well, it just depends on who you count, and if you're talking about North Pole or Fairbanks.
No. Yeah, I don't want to include North Pole or Nenana or Delta or any of that.
Okay, just Fairbanks. Okay.
Myself, Rich.
Okay. Chris. Well, Chris is outside of Fairbanks. He's not in Fairbanks.
Okay.
Rich is in Fairbanks. Chuck. There are a few others that are. It's hard to say whether they're committed.
Yeah.
Another.
That gives me a. Okay, well that's good. So it gives me an idea. There's 2 active and many more interested. And by the way, the Big Lake Wasilla area is packed full of people that want to join the assembly, but they don't really want to have anything to do with the Catholic Church or the Vatican or Anna von Reitz or any of that. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as they hear that she's not involved with this group, then, there will be at least one caller next week.
Oh, yeah, I think I know a few of those people you're talking about. I think I know them by name, and I've sat down with some of them. Yep.
Yep, there's Dave, and there's many more that I've talked to that as soon as I mention Anna, they say, oh, she's tied in with the Vatican, and they don't want anything to do with it.
Well, there's a whole bunch of writing from Anna that says she's not tied in to the Vatican, but if you look at essay number 1, it is 43 pages long, but right in the first part, her letter to Cardinal George, she says, I'm placing my blood seal upon the altar. So your blood seal upon the altar, I don't know what that means exactly, but don't sound good to me. And the other thing that I think is really interesting, I'm looking at Brent Winter's book. I'm going to find the information in here, but she gives the origin of common law to William the Conqueror. William the Conqueror was the Pope's man. William the Conqueror is not the reason that we have common law. You got to go further back than that. And I'm just answering this charge of theocracy. That is totally bogus. If anyone knows Christ, they know that he will never force anyone to love him. That's where free will comes from. If there's any basis for freedom of religion in this country, it's Christ's law, not civil law.
Right.
So she's exactly wrong on saying that people who are Bible-believing Christians would try to deprive people of their rights of conscience. That you can trace rights of conscience back to Christianity. So she's completely off on that. She's wrong about William the Conqueror being the reason that we have common law. She's wrong on the origins, and I have a whole big. We did a whole show on that, so you can find that on our YouTube channel about where she's wrong on Brent Winter's book. If I'm included in the Fairbanks group who want the theocracy, she's exactly wrong on that. If I'm included in the Fairbanks group who is looking for armed kind of conflict or any kind of violence, she's wrong on that. That's a lie. That's not true. If she thinks we're extremist Christians, that's BS. Okay? She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's never been to any of our meetings, so I don't know how she knows what's going on in the meetings. The meetings are all recorded, and we're going to get testimony from people. I'll take your testimony now, Glenn. Have you ever been to a meeting of the Alaska General Assembly where we talked about armed conflict or violence?
No, not at all. I haven't even heard anybody mention that, and I don't think anybody would.
Yeah. It's all business. So, okay, I'm going to let somebody else have a turn while I look up this William the Conqueror stuff. So maybe Chris wants to talk.
Hello, all. Yeah, it's kind of disconcerting. What she's putting forward here was a very subtle threat, in my opinion. The mention of Schaefer Cox on several occasions and the Colorado 9. Yep. To me, that right there was a very subtle threat, saying you will be hamstrung the exact same way these people have been if you don't dissolve, disappear, stop. Yeah, the theocracy portion of it, absolutely, because we pay homage to the where the law came from, is absolutely not the same thing as wanting a theocracy. You know, just because we have fellow brothers of multiple religions, we shouldn't be judging each other for their religion. We should be judging each other for our laws, because that's the most important thing, how we treat one another. The charge of armed conflict is absolutely insane. And, you know, on some of our Free the People shows, we have discussed militias in the past. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm tired of people, sorry for the term, bastardizing the language. That's the problem we have here in this whole situation, is everybody has bastardized this language through these bar associations. You know, our community should be able to stand up for themselves. And that's a militia. You know, a common goal. You know, there's a lot of things here, and the thing I want to get on the record here is I'm giving Anna von Reitz and Paul Strammer a notice of liability for their allowing to post this stuff, this garbage that calls us and puts us in harm's way through what she's quoting. You know, this is exactly what Department of Homeland Security looks for. And now we have maybe possibly one of their agents stating something that is a total fraud, an absolute fraud against us. And it has real ramifications against not just myself and my fellow assemblymen here that are participants in the General Assembly, but my family. And I don't take that lightly. I mean, it's my family. It's the reason I am here. My common unity of my brothers and sisters in my community are why I'm here. You know, and the very fact that we are here trying to enforce the law is a direct repudiation of what she is claiming. If we weren't lawful men and women, we wouldn't be doing this. We would be doing something different. But we're not. We're peaceful people. So in one hand, she's saying we're Christians and all this, and then the other hand, we're armed and violent. Which one is it? I know where I stand, and I know where my brothers and sisters and all my friends and everybody that comes on this show, where everybody stands. And there's never been anything towards an armed conflict within the General Assembly. And with that, I passed it on for the next.
This is John here. I would like to submit this idea. The way I see it, as far as I know, we the people, according to the preamble to the Constitution of 1787 and 91, we the people are the embodiment of the very sovereignty of this union of nation states. And that should be primary in all of our efforts. And we should espouse that and build upon it. That, you know, without us as the sovereigns of the nation, there is no sovereign embodiment in the nation. There's no king. Although I've wondered about some of the things that have been written, if there is some tendency toward that that aspect of royalty in a strange sort of way, if you get what my drift. But let us use the tools that we have and the power of the historic events that we have in the back in our past. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union and so forth, provide the common defense, promote the general welfare, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America, unincorporated, of course. Why is that so seldom emphasized, even by Anna von Reitz herself? And I think that's not a slip of the mind, I don't think. But that's something I would ask her if she came aboard to answer questions. Why? I'd like the rest of your guys' opinions about this concept of claiming the sovereignty of the nation states according to the preamble of the Constitution, and let that be as a base of our operation. I yield.
May I?
You may as well go.
Chuck here.
Go ahead,
Maria?
Jesse. Can I
brand
get
new.
that?
Yep.
I just
want
sorry,
to make
can
a
I
quick
get-
point.
Oh, go ahead.
Brand new publication from her just came out titled "They're Attacking Us," and it's more on the Fairbanks group. Blah blah blah. I yield.
Are you saying that's new?
Yep, just came out, 7:41 p.m.
Huh. Talk about Chicago politics. I will push you down in the mud and then scream about you pushing me down in the mud. It's Saul Alinsky's tactics. We know who she is. We know what her motivations are. We can see the fruit on the trees, and they are not. They're rotten. Anyway, okay, so John, can I get your testimony that you've attended almost all the Alaska Journalist Assembly meetings, and whether or not you've heard any talk about armed conflict or violence or terroristic threats?
That's right. I have not heard any such talk.
Thank you, and neither have I. I think I've been to almost all the meetings. All right. Anybody else got something to say?
What
This is Chuck. I just thought I'd let you know I was available.
Hey, Chuck. Good to hear you.
Hello?
Hi, Chuck. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing fine and dandy. I'm just sitting here listening. I thought I'd pipe in and let you know I was listening.
Okay, good to hear you. Have you got any comments for us?
Well, I don't know what the heck is going on because I've been so busy with other things, and particularly with this case with Butner. And got a nice letter today, no, not today, but last Friday, from an Esquire guy who's actually proud of the fact that he has a foreign title of nobility. Okay? I don't know, I read it to Chris earlier today, but I'm going to come up with an answer to this thing. Okay? Would you like me to read it, or you want to go back to your subject?
If you could hold it for a little bit while we continue vetting this, talking through this topic of Anna von Reitz accusing us of all kinds of stuff, and then we'll get to that in a little bit, and when we come to the end of that on this segment.
Okay, real good. I'll just sit here and listen.
Okay, are there any other comments on this? I guess this is a good introduction for you, Destry, but basically the bottom line is that the reason why Anna von Reitz and Terry Sam took us off of the American States Assembly list of assemblies is that we refused to tell Destry that we couldn't be friends with him anymore. We were ordered by Terry Sam or told that we were to immediately disassociate ourselves from Destry Payne in our personal, in our private relationships with him. He had sent me an email after a conversation on Free the People. Free the People is not the Alaska General Assembly, for one. Free the People is just a radio program, this show that we do every week. Anyone can come to it. Nobody is qualified. So it's open to anyone. And anyone can share information, and we can share their information with other people. And I sent that out to my list of people. And Terry Sam received it, and she wrote back and said, "What are you still doing associating yourselves with Destry?" Well, that's a tyrannical move. And I don't know who these people think they are, Anna von Reitz and Terry Sam. I know that they have something called the American States Assembly Project that they're doing. And I acknowledge that they have every right to decide which kind of, who they want to be involved in that thing, because that's their own private problem. But to reach out and tell me that I'm not allowed to have a certain friend, if you're going to be friends with Destry, then we won't be friends with you. And then we're going to commingle that, we're going to mix that and misinterpret that, and then say, well, the Alaska General Assembly is bad, 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 and we're going to take you off our list. It's basically a pissing match that we're involved at schoolyard. Yeah, reminds me of third grade. If you're going to be friends with them, we're not going to be friends with you. So Nana. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's childish, and we're going to check the fruit. We're going to check the fruit. And if this is the fruit of the American States Assembly, we can't disassociate ourselves from that thing quickly enough. There's a major problem with that thing. So I would remind all the states that your assemblies are independent. You're autonomous. The sovereignty of the assembly springs from the people, not from the American States Assembly. They may have an opinion about whether or not you can be named on their website, but they really have nothing to do with your autonomous actions that you take. So anyway, Destry, if you want to talk, or if you don't, somebody else wants to talk, I'm gonna let go of the floor right now.
And thank you. I can talk.
Okay. Awesome.
To give a little understanding of me and where I'm at now, I got involved with the Michigan General Assembly in late 2011. January 2011, the MGJA separated from RUSA because there were certain questions that were asked that could not be answered. Those who were running the show with RUSA would not produce documentation that was requested. And Michigan says, no, we'll just do our own thing our own way. We had done the studying of our founding fathers and how our country first came to be. It was between 50 and 100, I don't know exactly what the number was, between 50 and 100 historians who had studied every scrap of information going all the way back to the late 1500s they could find. With that, the knowledge developed, we were able to complete Michigan as a free and independent nation state. Global notice never rebutted all these years, sitting interim. Most of them that are involved with the Michigan Assembly have got gray hair and white hair. I was 36 at the time, or 37. I'm 46 now. I learned this at a younger age. I've got many years ahead of me to teach. I've got a special ability to learn really fast and connect knowledge and figure things out. It's a gift. I've had it since I was a little kid. Well, I learned how this works, what to do, what needs to be done, in and out, all the nuts and bolts of it. I was chosen to take on educating people in other states to duplicate what Michigan did because I had that knowledge and ability. We got to a certain point at the national level with 38 plus states attending, with 300 to 400 people attending. When that happens in that magnitude, it gets a lot of attention. It gets the attention of large organizations who do not want to see the people shed their shackles of slavery. They want to keep the control over the people, keep the profiteering over the people. So they're going to do what they can to interrupt it and put a stop to it. I happen to be at the tip of the spear on the education end of it, teaching the people and showing the people what I learned. I wound up number one target. And they took a hell of a shot at me and blew most of our states out and a lot of people and turned them on us. But that's okay. Because the ones that stuck by are the ones that could see it for what it is. They're the intelligent ones. They're the ones that will make this happen. It's not me. It's the people out there who I come in contact with that have the ability to understand it and see it. One fact I have learned is that time always tells everything. As time has gone by since the initial attack, I have learned about the agents of those who wish to see us fail. I have learned about the agents, who they work for, how they operate, and I can see them right in front of me. It's like the Lord up there shed the light for me to see. And as time is going on, more and more information is rolling in and just confirming what I originally realized. Anytime I have ever made statements, made any claims, I always back it with something valid to validate it with. This is why. This is where you can find it. I always show it. Well, Miss Anna Von Wright's there. Never once has she ever shown any valid backing of any claims she made. It's just blah, blah is all it is. I challenge anyone to find any kind of backing for her claims. Because I know you won't find it. It doesn't exist. You know, she claimed I was a U.S. citizen. Well, I've got this apostille act state. So that cancels that. Everything she's tried to do to get me to drop out of this, to run with my tail tucked between my legs, whatever, has failed. So, just like clockwork, just like we see in the de facto system, especially these Democrats, they start dreaming up stuff and pointing blame to it. It's the same old thing over and over. History repeating itself. And they're targeting me on it. But that's okay, because as long as they're targeting me, they're leaving all of you alone. They're not targeting you, they're targeting me. But that's okay. I can handle it. I'm the dangerous one.
A little different now. Now the rest of us are being targeted, and I don't appreciate it. So, no, she's not just targeting you. She's spreading it to everybody else.
Yes, that's because her targeting of me failed. So she broadened her range.
Yeah. I think the Coast Guard, the FBI, and the troopers in about 4 detachments need to know about this pretty soon.
When she starts spreading word about us, whether we're talking about violence or trying to push it or whatever, that's the farthest, craziest thing from what we are. We're peaceful, and we're peacefully assembling under Article 1 of the Bill of Rights. That's what we're doing.
Well, it's crazy, but it's also a threat on my life, liberty, and property here.
Yes.
You know, remember, Donald Trump said, see something, say something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're over the target with what we're planning on doing here. We're right over the target. The enemy is going to fire at us, and that's exactly what they're doing. You know, I use her as a bounce board. If I want to find out if something's right or not, I'll throw a little hint of it out there and see what bounces back. If she fires back onto it, I know it's correct. Just like that 1871 contract deal. She barked all about that until the others that were following her says, well, why are you doing that? This will benefit us all. Then she went quiet on it. I knew I was on the right path when she did that. Now that she's barking because we're planning on settling Alaska, we're right over target. We need to keep doing what we're doing. She is the opposition. She is the mouthpiece of the Vatican to us. More and more information is coming out. How she's the fiduciary for the 13 families. When that Kim Possible about the Man of World Trust, she's the one in control of it. Every single time the cabal tries to hack into it and steal it, and they can't, immediately afterward, just like clockwork, Anna fires off an email attacking Kim Possible. Isn't that something? As long as we're aware and we have enough intelligence to disseminate the information ourselves and do what we need to do with a good conscience and a level head, we'll succeed. She can't stop us.
We just keep soldiering on.
That's right.
There was a claim in the essay that you have taken over the Alaska General Assembly, and that's false. You have not taken over anything.
Nobody can.
Have you? Okay.
If we were a society, in a society, the entire group can be held responsible for the actions of one. In an assembly, everyone is responsible for themselves only. That's why you cast a ballot. Nobody can take over nothing. Nothing gets done without a majority decision. So as far as I'm concerned, she's passing a lot of hot air, and that's it. I yield.
And then just give us your testimony that about any discussion you've heard on any of the Alaska General Assembly official meeting calls about any of the crap she said in her essay.
I don't really see nothing that connects. The crap that's in her essays is just fiction, as far as I can see.
Yeah.
It's a pipe dream.
Downstairs.
Has no standing, has no validity, has no backing.
Okay.
Just an
all
opinion
right.
is all it is. I yield.
Okay. And anybody else who wants to give testimony that that they've attended the meetings and what they've heard about at the meetings, I'd welcome that now. Okay, and any other comments regarding what we've been talking about tonight? Anybody have any more comments before we go to Chuck? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Dusty, man.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to say that I really liked listening to Wilford talking earlier. He's right on. I like him. I think he'd be really good to be a part of what we're doing. I yield.
Totally agree. We love having you here, Wilford, but don't worry. We know you're not recruitable. Just keep coming to our show. We love it. Okay. Hey, Chuck, why don't you tell us about what happened today?
Well, I got a letter. This was, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Is this thing still on?
Yeah, we can
Hello?
hear you. We can hear you. There's a little interference, but go ahead. Just speak up. Speak up.
Well, at any rate, I got a letter here from the Alaska, what the heck is it called, Attorney General's office, and it's just a letter form, and it's supposedly served by filing, it says. Okay, and I guess that means I got to go find out what the heck they filed in there in the case. I don't know if this letter is it or not. But this guy is saying, I represent Assistant District Attorney Bootner in your federal litigation against him, except for formal service of process under Federal Rule of Civil Procedures 4, please stop contacting or sending anything to my client, Mr. Bootner. Okay? Let me point something out right here. This is the 4th. Was sent on the 4th. There's dated the 4th. And the thing is this case was over on the 4th because Bootner defaulted on the 4th. Please direct all other service to me. In other words, please send me at the address below all the service copies of all filings in your case or hand deliver them to my office. Then he gives it my address is AAG, and then it says, I can't say this guy's, Tinker Bray, Esquire, Office of Attorney General. This guy's just proud to be a foreign agent. So I find this really an interesting little letter, and I'm looking for ideas on how to go about answering this and telling him to quit trespassing on my case, which is already over.
Okay, what's this in regards to? Give us some of the background.
Oh, okay. I brought a case against Assistant District Attorney David Bootner, or I brought a case against David Bootner, man, actor as Assistant District Attorney. And in that I have charged him with, one of the things was corruption of blood. And so at any rate, let me get up here and get out this folder. Yeah, I got 3 charges against him. And this all started, oh my goodness, when?
Just a thought, if you contact him in any way, you will probably commit joinder unless your words are very specific.
Mm-hmm.
I yield.
Yes, that is one of the things I'm concerned about. Yeah, this was filed July the 26th of 19. See, so this case is not that old. It just started in July, and it was over on the 4th of September. And then, of course, trespass upon my property and all that good stuff. So let me see if I can find the accounts. I see where I'm having a hard time. Been through this thing so many times, I still can't find my way through it. Now I got it all messed up. So at any rate, in one of my documents, the charging documents, one of the things is corruption of blood. And that's as soon as they put your name from the form you wanted into like the Christian form or the sovereign form, and they put it in all capital letters, that's corruption of blood. Or they, at any rate, they just tread all over your rights in this case. So, okay. Anybody got any questions or suggestions here on that letter? Other than the fact, yes, I don't want to do anything that gives them the impression of joinder. Okay.
Well, somebody had said, Chuck, that what's happening is you've got to be really careful that you don't create joinder.
Yes.
And that was.
But whose interpretation would that be of joinder? Yeah.
And then, Sean, if you're there, can you explain it a little bit more? And maybe, I don't know if you have a reference as to what specific things Chuck needs to say or not say.
No, that was just my opinion. And I was thinking Wolford, with his definitions of words, definitely would be the way to go. I'm not versed in all the definitions of all the words yet. That's going to be a lot of learning on my part that I'm going to have to continue with. But I do know that that's what they want you to do. Is that's their whole stick. And he's already told you he's Esquire. So anytime it may be even anytime you converse with him, you commit a joinder, but I don't know for sure. But that's what they want you to do.
Yeah, I have a common law case, American common law, and I speak in the common language. And no judge has any decision over the meaning of any words I use. And if they want to have a jury, but it's too late, the doggone case is over by default. So mainly I just see this as a trespass upon my property.
So they defaulted on your case, so now it's no more. So why would you even converse with him?
Well, that's a good question. And here again, if you don't answer or if you don't object, you accept. I think that's the basic idea there.
That's true.
They wrote this with the intention of getting me to accept it, I do believe. And if I don't answer to it, then I have accepted it.
I think Wilfred would have your words in your response that you would need. I most certainly don't. from reading everything I have read, they continually try to get us to contract with them in any way possible. And that's with them calling us Mr. or I mean, it could be something that you would think was innocuous that you wouldn't object to. And once you don't object to it, then you're in their ball game again.
Yeah. So, yeah, I got to object to this somehow. Because I certainly do not want to accept it.
No.
May I?
Well, good luck with that. Go, and I'm done. Thank you. Go ahead, Destry.
Thank you. I've got a suggestion. Pierce the corporate veil. Use the DUNS lookup online. Get their DUNS numbers. And
you mean go to their corporate status?
Online, Dun & Bradstreet. They've got a DUNS lookup where you can get their Dun & Bradstreet number.
Yeah, I already have the Dun & Bradstreet number for the Alaska Court System Incorporated.
Do you have them for each of those actors? The prosecutor has one. The attorney general has one. The judge has one. You got to get all of them.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. Then address the flesh and blood that's acting behind that office. Pierce that corporate veil. You're going to make them cry. I yield.
Yeah, and then of course there's reference to the Article the 7th of the Bill of Rights that says no case will be reexamined in any court of the United States. And so that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that's a different United States.
Yeah, that's always a throw-up. Is that the de facto or the de jure?
Well, yeah, we've settled that. Hey, what capacity was the original man you were dealing with before this other man tried to interfere in your case?
Well, he was the assistant district attorney here in Fairbanks, 4th Judicial District.
And now someone else is trying to take his part of the job there.
Well, no, someone's trying to act like they're his attorney. And that's the only thing I can see. I don't think he's trying to be a counselor for Bootner. I think he's trying to be the attorney for Bootner. Because this guy calls him his client.
Well, that's fine, but that's interfering in the case. And when somebody else jumps into the case and asserts themselves into it, they don't belong, and you have to tell them to mind their own business, and then keep dealing with the one that you were dealing with before.
Yeah, well, that dealing's all over with. I wrote up the default judgment, and I wrote up the order to pay the true bill, and I filed them, but I haven't served them on him yet. So just ignoring this letter, especially if it's filed, I don't know. He says it's filed, but something has been filed, but he doesn't give me any copies of what it was filed. See, this appears to be just a letter. So maybe I'm going to have.
Yeah, he's trying to interfere with your case there, and he needs to be told to go away.
Mm-hmm. And there is a joinder fee.
And if the original guy wasn't qualified enough to handle your case, well, that's too bad. That's not your problem.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, okay. Well, at any rate, I'm going to have to sit down and write an. I feel like I'm just telling this guy cease and desist, if nothing else, is interference into the case.
Yeah, notice of interference and cease and desist order and a few other things. Oh, Chuck, is there anywhere that we can read this case online?
Yeah, you have to go to, what is it called, PACER for the federal court.
Right.
Yeah, and but you have to have and the reason I can't do it myself is because you have to have some kind of credit card to give it to them. And I don't know why they want a credit card, but I haven't been able to access PACER because I don't have a credit card. The only way I can see to do it is, for myself, is to go down to the courthouse, the federal courthouse, and pull the case up down there.
Right.
Or ask us see the case.
Well, maybe someone with a PACER account can look it up and put it on the website or something.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Give everybody a chance to look at the whole case. And I think I'm up to document number 21 now. I've got 21 documents filed.
Yeah, this sounds really interesting.
May I?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Another little something that you should do if this alternate assistant attorney general is trying to stick his nose into it, label him as a co-conspirator and add him to it.
Well, I can't add him to it anymore because the case is over. The case was over on the 4th. That was the day of default. So,
Chuck, there was a suggestion here that you send the bill to the attorney and ask him to expedite the payment if he's representing that guy.
You mean send?
I've got another suggestion on that in case nobody.
Yeah, because
wants to pay
I mean, yeah. Well, he gave his appearance. He appeared just as the default judgment was taking effect. So apparently, he just wants you to know who he is and who his client is, so that he can expedite your payment.
I assume when you say expedite the payment, does mean they would pay me?
Right. Send him the bill. In other words, go ahead, Destry, with your idea.
If they fail to pay you, you can file a 1099 on them and use the IRS as a collection agent to collect that. I yield.
Oh, that's neat.
But another thing you have to do, you send them a true bill, but then you need to send them another one in 30 days or however many days you gave them, and with a past due stamp on it, and let them know that there's interest and penalties and late fees and a whole bunch of other things. One little true bill is not going to do it.
Oh, it's something like the bill should be sent out once a month?
You want them right?
Well, send them a second notice and maybe 2 more warning notices after that, and then you can turn around and sue them. You can't sue them just by sending them one bill. You gotta follow through and at least attempt to collect.
Yes.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
One other important point on that, for that bill, you need to cure it. Publish it in the notices section in the local paper in the legal section. Make sure you publish it that it's defaulted, it's past due. Put the amount on there, and let it cure. I yield.
Eat some rice first. I'll put the cake right there when you eat this.
Okay. Now, anything else, guys? Are we still here?
Yeah, what did you say? Sorry.
Well, I'm just.
Yeah. Okay, so you have a default judgment, right?
Yes.
And so I think the next step is understanding the process for using that as a basis to create a to collect. So you've got to understand that process. And I think I sent you, there was a YouTube video by a guy named Lancelot in the UK, and he does a video about the process. And I can resend that to you if you'd like.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that on there. And what did you say his name was?
Lancelot.
Lancelot. Oh, like Sir Lancelot?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, you would have to send that to me because I don't believe I ever remember seeing anything like that on my Gmail thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he just talks about the commercial lien process.
Mm-hmm.
He calls it a lien, but we know it as a lien, and how you use a default judgment as a basis for a liening somebody's property, and that's what the concern is. The concern is
that's one of the things, statements in there is if you agree to a true bill, then you have perfected the right to lien. That the person you owe can lien your property.
Okay, I'll send that out. I'll send that out to everyone because I think it's important for everybody to understand this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I'll get that out with the notices of what we're doing next. We also have an Alaska Jural Assembly meeting tomorrow night, same time, 7 p.m. And I also wanted to see if Sean's still here, and if Sean, you'd testify and give your testimony as to whether you've heard any talk about these things that Anna mentions in her essay, and then give us an update of what's going on with you and the American States Assembly, if that's still happening or what have you.
Yeah, I've been sick for the last couple of weeks, dealing with a bunch of pain, but not doing too bad today. So on the letter that Anna wrote, I feel like I saw nothing in there that she had targeted the Alaska Assembly. I saw nothing in there that I felt was true or correct in any way whatsoever. If anything had been true in that, I would have already been gone from the Assembly because I don't want to create a situation where I'm in something that I don't want to be in. And I wouldn't want to be in those situations that she describes in her letter. And there has never been any of those situations arise at any of our Jural Assembly meetings, or even on the Free the People calls. We're trying to figure this out like everybody else, and we're just trying to do the right thing. We just may have been misled by someone, and it's just a sad state of affairs because she won't hold a conversation to discuss her opinions that are in her letter. And as far as I'm concerned, they are just opinions. And they're her own, and they're none of ours, and whoever else's they are, they're wrong too. And then as far as the States Assembly, I applied for that again, and I got Donna out in Kodiak. And so she's new. We hold our meetings every Monday night after the Anna show. And basically our meetings right now, I don't feel like they're going to attribute to much other than helping people file their paperwork or fill out their paperwork or create their paperwork. I really think that's all that she is wanting, is to have people create the paperwork. And I'd already done it a long time ago, so I joined, and I'm on that show. So, but I will definitely be here for, and I definitely want to listen to everything that everybody says, and all the ideas. Just fantastic ideas tonight, incredible ideas. There's a wealth of information out there, and we all need to help each other learn it, and that's the only way that we're going to get out of this mess and get it on our road to freedom. It's just sad that we have the divide and conquer thing with Anna on the Alaska General Assembly. That's definitely discouraging for me, because I've been following her paperwork for, I think I caught on to that side about Article 500 or 480, somewhere around there. So I've been following her stuff for quite a long time, and it's just disheartening to me to have to. I just wonder where she's coming from. Anyway, I yield, and if anybody has any questions, that's great. I'll answer the best of my ability. And thank you all for being here tonight. You all have been a great wealth of information. I yield.
Thank you, too, for being here tonight, Sean. We appreciate that. And I just had one question for you. When Anna mentioned that they have a new Alaska Assembly, she's talking about the one you and Donna in Kodiak.
Yeah, Donna is the state coordinator for the Alaska General Assembly for the American States Assembly.
Okay.
For that, off of that website, which you were the coordinator until they bumped you off. So anyway.
Well, and that's just a result of me not following the orders to disassociate from Destry.
Yeah, and that's like you were saying earlier. That's like a childhood spat situation. How could somebody even think to ask somebody else to do that was a grown adult, and ask another grown adult to do that? I don't understand that at all. That is either a well, anyway. I don't understand that. I'll let that go there.
Well, and the other thing that's really troubling about the American States Assembly is that it's up to Terry Stan and Anna von Reitz to decide whether or not a state is worthy. So we've been meeting for a year and a half as the Alaska General Assembly, and those two women get to decide if a state is worthy, and that is crap. Any way you look at it. I
don't think it's their decision. I think it's the people's decision when they all group together and stand up to form an assembly. I don't think it's anybody's decision other than the sovereign people of that state. I can't believe that somebody else would have a thumb on every state to say, okay, you can go, okay, you can't go. That's just ludicrous.
Okay, so this is why we're talking on this call tonight, Sean. It may or may not have an effect tonight, but over time, it should speak to all of those people that are participating in ANA's assembly, in that American States Assembly, because that cannot be right. Something's wrong. There's something very off there. So what I'm saying is we're recording this, and I hope people wake up and disassociate from that, because it's bad fruit. We're supposed to check the fruit. That's bad fruit. I mean, she's showing that she's basically, the American States Assembly is the seeds, I mean, the beginnings of it. I mean, when you're that far off in the beginning, how can you ever get back on course if that's your basic modus operandi? So anyway, that's my opinion. I just want to make sure it's recorded and people will hear that in the future.
So you're saying it's you're going to put a flat tire on your car and drive down the Alaska Highway?
What are you talking about? I don't get it. Why would I? Why?
That was just an analogy. Yes, it was a joke.
Well, but I don't get it. I don't understand the analogy.
So why would you put a flat tire on your car and drive down the Alaska Highway? You wouldn't, because you wouldn't get anywhere. And so if they are doing this, is that why they are doing it? So that we won't get anywhere?
Unless you wanted to get nowhere, then you would put a flat tire on all four corners of your car.
Exactly.
Right.
Wait a minute. I thought you were participating in the American States Assembly, Sean.
Yes, I am.
So you're the one with the flat tire on your car. Not me.
Maybe. Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you better change that tire before it becomes 4 flat tires, and you won't get anywhere down the Alaska Highway.
May I?
No, I don't mean it. I just hope you keep associating with us, because we really appreciate you very much. You're awesome.
May I?
Go ahead.
That's just to reiterate the point I made earlier, that somebody does not want us to succeed. They're going to do everything they can to throw a stick in our spokes. I yield.
Hey, Maria, I'd like to say something.
Hey, who's the little kid with no shirt?
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, John. Go right ahead.
Okay. Well, my thinking is this: the way Anna von Reich is dealing with this, it is as though she has a financial interest in the, what do you call it, American States Assembly, like though she owns something about it. So otherwise, I don't think she would be doing what she's doing. What do you think of that?
John, can you repeat that and speak up a little bit? I didn't understand it at all.
Somebody else needs.
And then could everybody else mute out, please, by pressing *6 on your keypad so we can hear John?
Okay, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, just speak really clearly if you can.
Okay, what I'm saying is, to me, the way Anna is dealing with this situation it implies to me that she has a financial vested interest in the American States Assembly, and that she has established it in a financial way that she owns that organization. Otherwise, I don't think she would be dealing with it as she is. I yield.
Well, somebody look up her DUNS number. I don't know. Possible, sure. But the rationale that she gives for the way she behaves with this is that we have one opportunity to take back our state, and if you don't do it verbatim in accordance with her direction, your efforts will be worthless.
Well, think about it this way, and I'm going to kind of step out a little bit and then pose a situation that might be implied in what she's doing. I hope I'm wrong, but she has expressed this idea more than once that Belcher background is one in which there was royalty in the French countryside with the barons that came to England with William the Conqueror, etc. And I think that the way she has been dealing with this, along with the fact that she never, to my knowledge, has advocated speaking up for the sovereignty of the American people according to the preamble of the Constitution. Well, she, in essence, is saying that if Belcher is the head of state, then he will grant sovereignty to all people. Well, that's kind of a lofty deal as far as she and Belcher is involved, because if he is the head of state, that might make her pretty close to a queen. And if that plays out, maybe that would be not so bad for the people in the UK, in which, the people are no longer sovereign because they have been perhaps granted a sovereignty through the king and queen. And that fact retains that royalty factor that they all are concerned about throughout Europe and so forth. I've kind of thought about it along those lines, and so I yield, and I would like to know what you think about that. Excuse me.
I don't know if I quite caught exactly what you were saying. Could you just sum it up real quick? What about Belcher and all that?
Well, she has written that her husband,
that he's the hereditary. That James Belcher is that James, her husband, is the hereditary head of state.
Okay. Head of state.
Yeah.
Well, what is a head of state? You can't have a head of state when all the people are the embodiment of the sovereignty of the country. you may have someone who has protected the seal or whatever he did and so forth, but if you start saying, oh, since he did this, he is the head of state, and since he's married to the head of state, she is the queen of the state, so to speak. I think there's a sort of a thinking along those lines, because if he can have the head of state grant sovereignty to all the people, well, they already have the sovereignty if they just look at the preamble of the Constitution. But for some reason, she never advocates that aspect of things.
Well, yeah, but where does this sovereignty come from in the first place, though, John?
Well, when they fought the revolution, and I think in excuse me, in what was that? I'm trying to think of a Georgia case, a Supreme Court case.
Chisholm versus Georgia.
Chisholm versus Georgia, that's right. And the
okay, but why did the court say that they were sovereigns without subjects? Where does this sovereignty? Where does it originate? What is sovereignty?
That was something that John Jay mentioned in that court case. However, I strongly disagree with his saying that the people are sovereigns without subjects. I think he said that from this standpoint. If all of the people are sovereigns, then no one can be over the next person, or the next people, I may say. However, from our experience in the society we're living in, not all people are law-abiding. So anyone who is not law-abiding, according to the common law, they make themselves our subjects. And I don't think we would be without subjects for quite a while. So, in my opinion, that's some short-sighted thinking or lack of thinking on John Jay's part. And I think there's a solid reason for people to be claiming their sovereignty, which the preamble displays. I yield.
Well, I think we should continue with that thought next time. It's 9 o'clock. I think it's time to call it a night because we've got another meeting tomorrow night. Let's not make tomorrow night's meeting interminable. Let's just get business done and get off the phone. Of course, I guess whoever wants to stay on late can stay on and chat. But 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Any final comments for tonight? All right. God bless.
I would like to hear, for some reason, though, a fair number of people on this call, and no one seems to respond to that idea of the people being the embodiment of the sovereignty of the country, or the union of nation states and so forth. I think that's a powerful concept, and I wonder why people don't grasp it. Feel free to step forth and argue against it if you wish. It won't bother me. I don't think that's why you're hesitating anyway, if you're hesitating.
John, I think people are just pretty much done for tonight. So why don't we get off the phone and continue this tomorrow night at our General Assembly meeting?
I might be a little bit late for it tomorrow. I think I'm going to be going.
What is it your governors can do? How is it that we have come to thinking and believing that anyone has more to say than you? Stand up, sing your song. Let us know the wisdom of your heart, that you belong, that we belong to you, that you belong to us, and that our love is all untrue. How do we dance? How do we take that first step and commit to take a chance? Believe, just relax, 'cause no one ever died of trying to take the music back. Just leave it to them others to excuse. State your heart, be yourself. Oh, help us understand it's you and everybody else. Oh, take a breath, now see it through. You know that I am all myself when I'm standing up for you. How is it that we don't see the pain which we exchange for circumstance made easy to believe in, where everybody's loss becomes a gain? Come forth, reach out your hand, be your brother's keeper this one time. Say he belongs, say we belong to him, that he belongs to us, and that our love is all and true.